talk about tripods. So we have different opinions. Everybody's got an opinion on a tripod. It's like a Chevy and a Ford or any other comparison, you know, Olympus against Panasonic. But what I can tell you is the things that I like and the things that I check for on a tripod and how I use it. So let's start at the bottom. I always like metal pegs in the bottom of mine. I do a lot of shooting in the woods, so I always keep my pegs on the metal stud. But if I need to shoot inside, I can bring out the pads. Now, some of the newer ones you can interchange, so the pad goes on or the stud goes on. So it's your choice. Whichever ones you want to use, you got to swap them around. Again, pros and cons. Other thing I see a lot of people doing wrong is that when they're using a tripod and they're not fully extending it, they pull out the lower leg. This is the thinnest and the weakest leg. The objective of a tripod is to steady your shot. So you should be pulling out the longer, the thicker leg and start from there. So if you're not going to pull it all the way out, all the way, go and use the sturdier ones as you move up and down. One of the things I look for in a tripod is the ability to, so a lot of times I have to mount this on a hill or a rock that are kind of in my way, and this leg comes out. I can use this on top of the rock or whatever I need to use it for, but also it's got teeth in it and grooves in it so that I don't have to go all the way down. So that's one of the things I like. I'm now looking for another tripod. This one's 10 years old, but I'm also finding that my style is changing a bit. So although this one is a super tripod, it is carbon fiber. One of the things that I'm finding on this is that it's not quite high enough. It doesn't go high enough. So if I want to shoot from here and shoot down, then I've got to bring out the center. Now, as I bring this out, see how it moves? So now I'm inducing movement into my tripod. If I bring this down all the way, it's a lot sturdier. So that's one of the things you want to look for as well. That's one of the things I'm looking for right now, is to get something a little taller so that I can shoot down and not increase the weight. So that's one of the things that is going to have to happen here in the near future. One of the things that I like and I use a lot of, and it was introduced a couple years ago, is an Arca Swiss ball head. So ball heads are another piece that people are going to discuss all sorts of different ways to do it. But the Arca Swiss works really well with what I call the L bracket. Let me just take mine off for a sec. Yeah, go on. So I've cut mine up, didn't fit. So this is an L bracket. And this fits into Arc Swiss. So most people, if you haven't got this style of head, when you want to shoot vertical, you've got to move it over. Drop it down, and you've only got the one slot. With this system, now I'm vertical. So that's one of the reasons that I like that system. Again, they've been around for a while. You can get the mounts and that on eBay. This isn't a very expensive head. Well, it's a Manfrotto. Oop. So it's not a very expensive head. Let me just put this back on. Okay, now, things that I've learned over time. If you're putting, there's all sorts of button bulbs, knobs on here. So one of the things that I like to do is see the knob on the Arca Swiss mount. I always put it underneath my lens on this style. Always put it underneath there. That way I can't inadvertently loosen it. I have to reach around to loosen it. And we've got enough knobs to play with that if this is in a different direction, you can inadvertently touch it. And I'm going to show you with another. See, this is when you get your long lens. And now we're going to have to move. See? See exactly what I mean. Now this is over top of this one. And it's kind of like you can inadvertently move that. And I've seen it done. That's why I'm mentioning it. So if you can, at any time, make sure that where you're attaching on that is out of play. I've seen a lot of people use these with the camera. I have cameras recording. This one's here. It doesn't fit this one. So a lot of people, when they have these telephoto lens on, that they mount the camera with the telephoto. Try to remember to always use the bracket on the lens. The lens is the hardest part, and you want to save your mount. So you want to make sure that you're mounting the lens mount in the system, not the camera when you have it on. Also, Nikon and Canon and Sony have image stabilization in the lens. So when you're mounting it onto a tripod, you want to turn that off. It will interfere, it will move it. You can see it shift. If you're using a 6.4 500 millimeter lens, you can actually see the image stabilization correct the photo. So I know I used to see it in my Sigma, but I know that for a fact. So you want to turn that off. Again, another point is that if you have this up, you don't want to touch it. So now you want to use a cable release. So you want to get a cable release for your camera and keep everything as sturdy as possible. With the cable release, once you've got the camera set up, you can hit the cable release. Sometimes you can use your iPhone or your Android phone, or you can get a Pluto trigger. That way you're not touching the camera to release it. So those are my little things that I've seen over the course of my career with people using tripods. Hopefully the next time you go to look for one, you'll have a better idea and better understanding. And we will see you next time on Who Said Photography. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you have anything in particular you want to talk about, or if you want to have anything you didn't like about the video about tripods.